Hello, I'm Ben Brain from Digital Camera Magazine, and in this video lesson I'm going to show you how we can use Adobe Camera Raw 4.5 to get the very best out of this RAW file. Okay, the first thing we notice is it's a little bit dark, and we can confirm this by looking at the histogram on the top right of our screen here. And as you can see, it's just a little bit clumped to the left here, and this means that there's a dominance of darker tones, and it does indicate that the image is a little bit underexposed. That's not a great problem though, as that's easily rectified, and we shot RAW, so we can use a RAW processor to just get that looking good. Let's just click onto our highlight clipping warning at the top here, and this should indicate when we move our exposure when we've just gone a little bit too far. So let me just crank it all the way up. Actually, I think I might have inadvertently turned it off then. So there, we can turn it on, and you can see now that these areas flashing red are now going into areas of overexposure. We obviously don't want to have any of that, but we do want to brighten up our image. So let's just crank it up just until we get our first little inkling of it there, just you can see in the rider's helmet there. And that's looking good at about +1. Okay, and as you can see, that has also brought our histogram a little bit more in check, and you can see that we're not clipping off the left-hand side here. What we want to do now is just to boost the contrast just a little bit, so we're going to do the same thing with the blacks, and I'm just going to bring this slider up a little bit here, and we have another clipping warning on the left hand side here, and you can see this time it's highlighted in blue, and I can crank that either way, and we just want to keep it subtle just to give a little bit of boost to the contrast. So we're just going to move it to about there. You can see that's just as I move left, right, it's just hovering there, and that's just giving us nice rich blacks but still a little bit of detail. Let's just keep it there. We can also just look at our histogram too as a visual guide, and even though I couldn't see a clipping warning there, I was feeling it was just a little bit too dark, so just kept it in check there using the histogram. Now the image overall is still looking a little bit dark, so what I'm going to do is now use the brightness slider. That's this fellow down here, and this is a great slider because it doesn't affect the highlights or the shadows. It's more concentrated on the midtones, and that can be good because we can still maintain our contrast but also lighten the image a little bit or darken it depending on which way we go. I'm thinking we need to go up to about sort of about +40 there. Let's have a little look. Down to 0 and up to 40, and that's making the image look a lot brighter. The next thing we want to do is just to work on a bit of the color as well and give that a little bit of a boost. And down here, the vibrance and saturation sliders are very, very useful. I'm going to crank the vibrance slider right up, and you can just see we're just getting a nice bit of punch in the colors there. The vibrance slider is very good because it doesn't operate on such a garish level as the saturation slider, as I will show you right now. And you can see our colors start to look quite horrible quite quickly. I am going to just put a little bit of saturation in there. Let's just put in about 20 and see how that works. And I think that's looking pretty good. Now, we could just go up to the preview button here and we can just check before and after. And you can just see if we toggle on and off there, look how the histogram changes shape on the top right-hand side here. Changes shape. We've got much more even characteristics in the graph there. And more importantly, look how the image suddenly comes alive and has got a lot more punch. Okay, for our last step, what we're actually going to do is to open our image in Photoshop Elements just to make some final tweaks. So just click on Open Image here, and as you can see, in a matter of seconds, we have opened our image in the main Photoshop Elements window. So we're just going to do some final tweaks to the shadows and the highlights. So let's just go up to Enhance and down to Adjust Lighting and across to Shadows and Highlights. And here you can see we can lighten and darken our shadows. So let's just move this over here and let's just see what happens when we move some of these sliders. So you can see we start getting a lot more detail in the shadow areas there. Now, we don't want to go anywhere near like that. We want to keep our changes subtle so that they are realistic. So let's just keep this set to about, I'm going to go for about 20. I think that's just looking quite good. We can use the preview button to just toggle on and off. and on. There we go. And you can see we're just getting a little bit more detail there. I might just drop that down just a little bit there. That's looking good. And I'm just going to boost the contrast just a little bit, and let's just crank this up to about 15. And then let's just toggle on our image there. Let's just move this so we can just see what's going on there and toggle down here. And that's looking pretty good, so I'm just going to click OK and commit to that. Now the great thing about working on a raw file is of course that it is totally non-destructive, and any one of the steps that I have done is totally re-editable, so that you can go back at any stage and change your tweaks. If you suddenly find in a couple of weeks' time that your decisions are looking a little bit too garish, then that's no problem. Just go back and you've always got your original raw file to work from. And that's one of the great advantages of working in RAW. Thank you.